Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio to shed more light on tonight's topic. We're joined by Dr. Salah Hafez, the former head of the Environment Affairs Agency. Dr. Hafez, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. Hafez, before we start focusing on the electricity sector and the prospects of cooperation with Greece and Cyprus, let's take an overview regarding the developmental efforts that the government has been taken and Egypt has been taken in terms of providing a diverse resources of energy and renewable energy as well, in order to sustain and maintain Egypt on a path to achieve sustainable development by 2030. So far, how's this process been going?
Well, we have to agree that energy is really a key issue in all relations between countries and regions. Mm-hmm. It's very important, and this is the reason now wars are being broken out in different areas, sanctions and everything related to energy. And the reason for that, of course, is the climate change. Because climate change, if we don't achieve, I mean, let's put it categorically like this, if we don't achieve the rise in temperature to 1.5 max, what's happening now is a rise of 1.1 degrees Celsius since the Industrial Revolution. And now what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Pakistan, you know, these are the outcome of the rise in temperature.
Yes.
So 1.5 degrees is really the limit. Although they talked about up to 2 degrees, but the cost of mitigation will be very high, and the cost is increasing every day. So now, because of the war, the people. Countries and nations have to diversify the sources, and mainly to be dependent on the renewable energy, because the idea of using gas instead of coal and as a transitional period is not accepted anymore, because the rise will inevitably go above 1.5 from the data we have now. So diversification, as you said. The important part is the green hydrogen. Mm-hmm. The green hydrogen, historically, it was used for fertilizers, because urea and ammonia and things like that, which is very important. Mm-hmm. Now. I mean, the problems now are in foods and energy. So Egypt has taken big steps toward making it a very, very strong debut to this area. Mm-hmm. We have the sun all year round. We have winds to a certain extent, and we have the land that we can build power stations and facilities like this. So the problem with the hydrogen is the green hydrogen is the water. Mm-hmm. Because you need fresh water. Salinity, if saline water will take more energy to separate the brine, yes. Then take the H2O for electrolysis to capture the hydrogen. Mm-hmm. When the hydrogen is captured is energy inherent, because it's the lightest element in the lightest known element, mm-hmm. and then helium. Mm-hmm. So it contains the energy, as opposed to the uranium, the heavy. You know, you have to yes. get the energy by bombardment and by mm-hmm. But the hydrogen now is the name of the game. Although there are little things that have not been categorically or totally resolved, because it's a very dangerous thing. It doesn't exist in the atmosphere, as we talked yes. about before. So you have to capture it and contain it in vessels, in tanks. But more importantly, I have recently discovered, I've said recently, but it was being used, you know, since the 70s in England, for instance. They have very thick layers of salts. So the salts, when you leach the salt out and make caverns, they are very, very good for storages of hydrogen. It has been it's being done in Europe in several areas. Less so in the States, although they have all kind of salt layers, but they were more into storing natural gas.
Yes.
You know, so this is the real future for our hub. We have all the infrastructure, the basis of the infrastructure. We have the expertise to a great extent, and we have the ingredients of making this hub with the green hydrogen and of course natural gas, and we can make many to really diversify.
Well, concerning the green hydrogen in specific, well, you've mentioned one thing is the financing of it. So if we do have the know-how or the technology or the areas where we can actually store the hydrogen, but what about the financing? And as well, you've mentioned before on a previous episode that there is a limit to how much you can create or produce green hydrogen, because you can't really mess up with the environment too much. So is it still a very feasible sort of operation or thing to do, the production of green hydrogen?
Well, preferably it has to be near the coast, for two reasons. First, you can get but the sea, the salinity is high. So what you do, the brine you extract will have to be disposed of. So if you're inland, the disposition of the brine at the surface is not recommended environmentally. So you have to disseminate and send it in the slope of the oceans by branching many branches for it to be diluted, as it were, and then settle down in the deep part of the ocean. But the saline water is not ideal for. It takes a lot of energy to separate first. So, as I said, preferably in the coastline. But you can use water, for instance, you drill wells with less salinity.
Yes.
There are the petroleum sector, they have drilled wells all over the country, everywhere in the country. And there are salt layers out of far from the coast, but mostly in the Gulf of Suez basin. But there are other basins where salt exists, not very much in the Western Desert. So the geographic location, the data you need, you can put together something ideal to have storages, to have the sun, to have sources of water, and with pipelines you can generate electricity in situ also, and then transport it by cable or by towers. So it's very interesting and very exciting, and the development is the technical development is obtained, you know, almost every day, and they're very keen to do it now more than any other time because of the global warming, which is causing a lot of problem and creating a lot of problems between countries, and the war of
Russia and Ukraine.
the Russian. It will cause the greenhouse gases to increase. Just the fact that war broke out, because changing the midstream, the logistics of transporting gas. Now, Germany is not getting the gas from So what we'll do, they will get it from Indonesia or Australia or anywhere with the liquid gas. So this requires energy. To liquefy requires energy. So we're using a lot of energy and hence costs to just change the logistics and the network of the system that had stabilized now for decades because of this war. And more importantly, they're going back to coal in some cases instead of. So this is the midstream again, is the name of the game.
Well, talking about how the climate change and the Russia-Ukrainian conflict has really affected the energy sector as a whole internationally. Now, Egypt is cooperating with Greece on transporting electrical energy through a subsea, under-the-sea pipelines, a pipeline maybe over 900 kilometers under the sea to Greece, transporting electricity. Now, Egypt, over the past few years, has transformed totally from being having insufficient electrical power. So now we're having a surplus, an increase even of more than 25%. Now, sending electricity from Egypt to Greece, that will in turn be transported to Europe, dealing with the energy crisis, especially that we are entering the winter season. How much of a big boost for Egypt's energy sector, and also really participating, being now considered a main player in terms of the energy sector internationally and especially for Europe?
You know, we can export gas, but there is a limit to what we can export, which is the capacity of the liquefaction plants. The LNG, they have certain, we have so many trains with certain capacity, and this is what we can export. Even we can export green hydrogen, but if we generate the electricity, convert the green hydrogen into electricity and transport it through cables underwater, this will, as you said, it will help the problem in Germany. They will be less dependent on the electricity, on the gas they import from Indonesia. So this will be a great movement towards the midstream of this important product to help with the climate change and more, as importantly, the cost and the economics.
Well, there's a lot of emphasis regarding how we have achieved a surplus and an increase in the electrical energy here in Egypt. I mean, we've built the three main electrical power plants. We also have our wind and solar plants. We're using electricity, or we're generating electricity through renewable energy resources. Does it make a difference how we produce the electricity, be it through the electrical power plants or using the renewable, such as the solar and wind energy, as a source of generating electricity and then transporting it? Which is easier? Which is more feasible to transport? How much? Because it seems that using renewable energy sources to produce electricity, it doesn't produce as much as maybe the electrical power plants. However, the electrical power plants use gas for producing electricity.
No, it depends on the size and the ability to store. For instance, in America now, they have lots of underground storages in salt caverns or depleted fields. So now the price of oil, the crude oil, has gone up.
Yes.
So and hence the gasoline, and the gasoline is very important for the internal policy because each family they use transportation vehicles, and they consume gasoline. So if the bill of the gasoline increases, the savings will be less. So there is a lot of instability, social instability inevitably occur in America. So they're trying to get Saudi Arabia to increase the production. And then they want to remove some sanctions from Iran to increase again the production.
Yes.
So, but Saudi, they don't want the Americans to remove sanctions related to the nuclear projects, you know. So it's all geopolitics, and each country is working to their favor, of course, to their people's benefits, and ignoring the big problem. So Egypt is in a very, very good position for the energy sector. And as I said, we have developed, it's amazing. And there is a person who was a consultant for the president, Hani Nourashi. He's a great advocate to renewable energy, and he knows about all the technology developments everywhere. And we could easily find finance for enhancing the production of electricity from renewable energy, whether it be through the green hydrogen or gas, for this. So the timing is right. The geographic location is right. We're located in 3 different continents. The good relations with countries across the Mediterranean is super. So this hub, if we develop put all ingredients needed and all the data needed and the brains together, then we can have a real hub that can provide. You said that the fossil fuel has more calorific value and hence more electricity than hydrogen.
A big carbon emission footprint as well.
Exactly. So we inevitably have to extend our projects for the hydrogen, green hydrogen. We have all the ingredients, we have all the sun needed for that. So, and finance, you mentioned finance, which is always a problem. But now that Europe are in the crunch and they need to diversify and they need energy to be less dependent on Russia, Russia will find a way to sell their gas to China, to Korea, to the other side. You know, they have many good relations with other, never good relations, but at least financial relations that can make them suffer less.
Yes.
But Europe they're having big problems.
Yes, definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to reach that, I mean, the electricity sector here in Egypt has witnessed an unprecedented boom, really turning from a deficit and a shortage in electricity, in electrical power, to having a surplus of producing and the production of electricity, and even transporting it and exporting it to other countries, mainly Greece now, as we're looking at. Let's check out this report, and we'll be right back to know exactly how this happened.